All right, we are live. Welcome to the RG DFS Tournament Takes Podcast Week 8. I am your host. I am so excited to be here. My name is Chris Kirkwood, also screen name Kirk D's, here with my two optimistic boys, JSU Rab from Run Pure Sports. This is the RG Run Pure Sports collaboration show, and we also got Bobby Gomes, DFS, back again for Week 8. How's it going, fellas? How'd you do last week?
Good. This is the negative show. I'm the negative side of the show. I played Brady everywhere. So I got to really kind of reel that in. JSU with the laugh. He said, don't play Brady.
You know what's funny? He's smirking over there, but he had me play Geno Smith. Like, he got me back onto Geno, that bastard.
All right. Well, first of all, I forgot that you were all in Brady. So now this show is going to be
You didn't forget that we were all on Brady, dude. You know who's on Brady. RPS is taking tabs of who's on Brady, dude.
I was ready to come on the show. No, I was ready to come on the show and tell everyone how excited I am to be on with two of the most miserable human beings on the face of this earth. I mean, literally, two new dads who are just completely miserable right now because their newborn child is crying all night. They don't get any sleep anymore. I'm hearing all the stories.
NBA is too hard with NFL.
It's just too much. Well, everyone, just so everyone knows, wear condoms if you don't want to look like these two gentlemen right here. But we'll move on past it because we got to bring the energy up for this show. And so I guess that role falls to me to bring the energy up. Bobby's about to fall asleep. I don't blame him now after he talked about how he played Brady everywhere. I would fall asleep just so I don't have to hear it anymore. Kirkwood's over here whining because he didn't play Josh Jacobs. It happens. 50% shot smashes sometimes, and sometimes you're on the right side, the wrong side.
Now, what really got me was let's just talk about how miserable last week. It wasn't miserable. First of all, I smashed UFC, smashed every goddamn bet I did.
Oh, you gave a winner too.
I gave away a winner, but I nailed Aljamain Sterling. I hammered that one. I hammered Islam.
Wait a second, hold on. Do we get to count that when the guy was literally telling the ref beforehand?
He would have got worked anyway.
Injured?
Yes.
I don't think he would have won. But I'm just saying, like, how easy Aljamain made that look. I mean, come on, the guy was clearly physically,
You know what? It felt good. It felt good after Maximov the week before. It felt good to be on the right side.
I forgot about that one.
Be on the right
that was
side.
a tough one.
Don't tell me this.
But so anyway, I had a huge day.
That dude's a warrior, by the way. That's still one of the craziest things ever. That dude finished that fight.
He's dead to me. But I played Joe Burrow, so I was like, oh, this slate's a wrap. I was so tired. I started to fall asleep for the 4:00 games because it was like, and I didn't play Jacobs and I didn't play Walker, and I still survived Jacobs. But I ended up losing money as opposed to like printing on the last Kenneth Walker TD that he just broke, that the Chargers, even though they were just obviously running out the game, and the Chargers just didn't know how to tackle.
So you didn't play Kenneth Walker or Josh Jacobs and almost won money?
I was crushing, and I lost by like a point.
Yeah, that's impressive actually. So Sunday, I'll just talk about it real quick because I got on a bunch of Chuba Hubbard and Gus Edwards. We do the Up the Lock show. I do it, me and one of my buddies, Holden and Dunkel, get on there. We go from 11:30 all the way to 1 o'clock walk. And right when we kind of got the news about, Chuba and running with the ones, splitting the snaps, I was like, okay, he's the more talented back. I'm going to get on some of him. And then Gus Edwards was someone who I loved a lot. Bobby does a ton of best ball stuff. I drafted him a ton in best ball. I thought he was like almost as good as J.K. Dobbins. I think the Ravens kind of viewed them like 1-2, but he would play a lot even when J.K. was healthy and they would both play. He would get a lot more work than people thought. So they clearly liked him. And I knew when they activated him, I'm like, all right, they definitely like this dude way more than Kenyon Drake and Justice friggin' Hill. So I think he was 4K. So I got on some of those running backs, which really helped my day. I pretty much ended up locking Josh Jacobs, which brought my exposure down on like guys like I didn't play Breece Hall. I was lower. I had a little bit of Kenneth Walker, but not as much. And I had a little bit of Austin Eckler, but not as much. So it kind of like changed my route. But the stud receivers let me down outside of Chase again. I played a ton of like Debo, Mike Will, who was okay actually. Mike Will, he was fine. He got like 20, but like in the end, the route didn't get there because that RB spend up route just smashed.
Edwards was a goat call, but he also ran pretty damn good to get there. He had only like 36% of the snaps, but I was in the same boat. I played Zeke. I was the only one who played Zeke, but I played him just because I wanted him to fall into the end zone 2 times, and that's exactly what he did. Is he fell into the end zone 2 times. Think about this
though: 36% of snaps, but he had a 69% rush share. He had 16 or 17 rushing attempts in those 36%. So even though he didn't get like 50% of the snap, like majority of the snaps, he still got majority of the running back touches from the field. And he was like every time he was out there, it was pretty much like he was every, 3 snaps, he was getting the ball twice. Like that's a lot for a running back. So when you add that in, if you tell me a running back nowadays getting 17 rushing attempts, guaranteed attempts, that's a lot of attempts now for a running back. We used to say 20, 25 a couple of years ago. Now we're seeing that number lower because I think everyone's kind of splitting these guys up a little bit more and not doing as much of the workhorse stuff. But that's a lot for a 4K running back in a good system. So,
no, I thought it was a go call. But if you wanted me to take the bet on him getting 17 touches with 36% of the snaps, with Lamar, Drake, and Justin Hill, like all on the same team, I would
right. But I could say like
I would take the under.
The same thing.
I know, that's what I said. I said I did the
less.
I did the same. Right? I did the same thing with Zeke. I did. I said I was fully admitting that, and I ran good. That was the point, to just get the touchdown. So I'm not. I think it was a GOAT call, like 4K. That was great because there was so much uncertainty whether he would be the guy or not, too, and. He certainly
shout out to our boy Big T. He was getting hammered about Gus Edwards. He had him. I think he had him in his core. I know he had him in his player pool, but it was a sick call. I was on him too, but he was definitely on that live Wood show on Sunday, touting him really hard.
GOAT call. All right, so this week, unless Bobby, we want to talk about Brady and just how it's Angry Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby.
Angry Bobby Brady narrative instead of the Angry Brady.
So not only was it like I had Evans and Brady pretty much everywhere, and I faded Jacobs. So you can guess how my week went. Oh, the one team I did play Jacobs on was in the 4K, but I would have cashed, but I also had Breece Hall. So right when he got hurt, it was pretty much.
I had a 6 team in the baller on Yahoo that it was down to my final. I had a lot of PMR left. It was DK Metcalf and Breece Hall, were both of my 2 last left. And that's
I had a ton of DK. DK, Breece. I didn't have as much Breece, but DK I had a ton of, and that was unfortunate for those.
I had Breece on the main. I had Breece in 152 in the millie, and just.
Bobby, I forgot. You just reminded me. So right after, just if anyone didn't watch the game. So Mike Evans, like one of the first couple plays of the game, I think it was the first drive. He drops like what would have been like a 60-yard bomb touchdown, right? So Bob immediately, I'm watching the game with my younger brother and my older brother, and Bob immediately texts our group chat and is like, "Fuck Evans, like drop that pass." My little brother, who I make fun of all the time, never listens to what I say. He played Tom Brady because he always plays Tom Brady every single week.
I don't always play Tom Brady. You're making
no. But you reminded me of this. You reminded me of this because my little brother talked about that Mike Evans drop for legit 2.5 hours. Literally mentioned it like every 20 minutes about how if he would have caught that pass, Brady would be rolling. And I'm just sitting there.
He would have been rolling. He wouldn't have been on the winner though. Burrow went nuclear. But he would have been
right.
rolling.
So in the end, it doesn't matter anyway.
It doesn't matter. No, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. But it definitely hurts like the game flow and the way the offense is kind of going.
Now we have a good idea though to why Bobby might actually be depressed. He had to watch Brady, who he played on Sunday, and then he had to watch him again yesterday look horrible.
I played I played Lamar like 70% captain last night, but I played him on every team with Andrews. So Andrews like I own 100%. Need to get off the schneid, guys. Need to get off the schneid. My kid needs diapers, you know.
All right, let's keep it going. We got 11 games, right? Am I right here? I think so. We got 11 games. We got no Packers, no Bills, no Bengals, no Browns because they're on the night games, the nightcaps. We've got buys for the Chiefs and the Chargers. But I look at the Blitz most plays usually to see what they're looking at and then I always cross that with Thorman snaps and pace over at ETR. And Cardi's got the most plays for Arizona at Minnesota, which is what I would have expected. But then he threw a wrench in some things. He's got Pitt and at Eagles as the next highest. What I thought was crazy to me was New England at the Jets for the third most plays. Then he's got the Giants in Seattle there. Thorman snaps and pace for high-paced games. He's got Arizona and Minnesota. He's got the Giants at Seattle. And then the game that I would have expected to be higher from every standpoint is Miami at Detroit. Miami -3.5 with Tua back at Detroit in the Dome, 51.5 point total. So that's the thing. That's the one game over 50 from a total standpoint. Then we have a 49.5 point total with the Raiders at New Orleans in the Dome. And then we've got a 49 point total with Arizona at Minnesota. And then we got just a bunch of games to pick some plays out. But we've got massive running back chalk. Zeke busted up his knee in that game a little bit. And Tony Pollard. So Zeke's going to be out for at least this week, but looks like a couple of weeks at least. And Tony Pollard, we finally get the chance that everyone's been waiting for. Oh, Tony Pollard, so much better, so much more explosive, which he is. He's definitely more explosive. So this is a great spot for him. And then we've got some other chalk still again with like Walker, Jacobs here. So I guess that's the theme for me is that the running back chalk. And then we've got, because QB's all spread out all over the place. Tua's going to be the chalk, but I don't really care. And then we're going to have to talk about guys like Sam Ellinger for the 4K. It's going to be interesting to see how we tackle that. But how's the slate looking for you guys overall, JSU?
Yeah, it's interesting that right now I see like Ellinger being one of the highest projected owned QBs and the Washington defense being one of the highest owned defenses. It's kind of interesting to me a little bit, but I get it. Like if you're not playing Ellinger, maybe attacking the chalk by playing the defense makes some sense. And if from playing Ellinger, he's 4K. So what does the 4K QB, what does it get you is always the thing. So he doesn't have to do a ton. He can move a little bit too, I'm pretty sure. So a little different than Matt Ryan, but I don't know. That's going to be one of the interesting spots on this slate is what do you do at quarterback? I have some other quarterbacks that when we dig into it, I'm going to like a little bit more, but a lot of cheaper quarterbacks on this slate, right? Not as many of the spend ups. You got Jalen Hurts, you got Kyler Murray, and then it kind of drops down. And then after the 6K range, it really drops. So that's going to be an interesting spot on how you make your decision at quarterback. And then you said it best, the running back position. It looks like we're going to have massive chalk at running back where there's going to be multiple guys possibly in the 20% own range. I don't know how that works, though, because, I don't know if every single one of these guys are going to be that high, but it looks like there's going to be a lot of concentrated ownership at the running back position. So you can do the same thing. I always talk about, play your favorite chalk running back, maybe two if you're making multiple teams, and then find some lower owned guys because, if it works out the way it's looking right now, there's going to be 7 or 8 guys that get some big ownership, and then the rest will be, in the lower, just under 10% for the rest. So that'll be interesting on how you do it. I feel like this is a Bobby week because there's just so much concentrated ownership everywhere. And Bob usually has the stones to fade a lot of the chalk plays. So I'm interested in what Bob has to say about it.
Let me just interrupt one second because we do have some news here. We got, just so you guys want to update here, Chuba Hubbard is going to be out. So that's going to change things a little. But yeah, I'm looking at 9 running backs that look to be all getting a lot. And then there's everyone else is going to be basically unowned. But so how you doing? How are you tackling it, Bobby?
Yeah, so for me, like I think it's going to be a really condensed week in terms of chalk, like JSU just hit on. I think I'm playing a lot of the chalk at running back. I might try to fade some of the wide receiver chalk. I think the bust rates for the wide receiver chalk has been much heavier than the running back chalk, as we've seen through the first 7 weeks. There are some like contrarian plays that I do like at the running back position. We can kind of get into it as we roll along. It's interesting this slate just because you're taking like those main QBs off the slate. And like usually it seems like they're the guys that are usually on the winner. So this is going to be kind of like one of you could say like a throwback slate, I guess. Jalen Hurts is probably the only QB that he's one of the 5 that you want to play every week. But I don't know because he's had like 2 weeks of 30 points and they like to, when they get a lead, they run the ball. So I don't know. I kind of like a little Miles Sanders pivot there if I had to like say one off the top. But yeah, that's it. Pretty much going to be a condensed week for chalk, and we're going to have to find pivots.
All right. Well, let's start it off with the running back. We'll then take it over to QB, to wide receiver, and then tight end like we always do. And then we'll hand over the reins to the Bobby Gomes DFS defense show and then do our favorite stack. But as we were saying, running back, there's about 9 of these guys I'm counting that, and I'm sure Foreman is going to shoot up there now. How much is Foreman this week on DK? He's 5,300. So he's going to be they still have God, who do they have? There's some other guy there. I'm throwing a blank. It's oh my God.
They just signed someone off the practice squad from the Bills. I'm pretty positive.
They have the Blackshear kid. I know that.
Blackshear. Yeah. That's who I was thinking of. Yeah.
He hasn't seen a snap, so I guarantee like it's going to be majority Foreman, and all these ownerships are going to change.
I think he saw a few carries last game when Chuba went out.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, just when he went out. So, I mean, he's going to play. I mean, they split those guys. He's going to definitely get some work.
Yeah. But he's going to shoot up now for ownership. But Tony Pollard leads the way, right? Like everyone we don't need to put much research into whether Tony Pollard is a good running back or an electric running back. He's everything, right? He's everything we want in a running back. He also has the best offensive line mismatch this week with that really good Cowboys offensive line against the Bears. Chicago's 24th DVOA versus the run, 29th in rushing yards per game, 6th most fantasy points to running backs. And the one time that Pollard was the lone back without Zeke, that's only happened once. He scored 31 fantasy points in that game. He's a smash. This is not chalk that I personally will be fading. I'm just going to go heavy on him, but like to hear your guys' thoughts. Other than that, it's Kenneth Walker again. I'm so miserable from what he did to me last week that it's going to be hard for me to click that name, but it's a great matchup. New York Giants 30th DVOA versus the run. He's getting, ever since he took over the starting role, he's averaging 23.5 touches. New York's 28th in rushing yards per game. What's really stood out is he had a 50% route share last week to me. That's so, include him in he can get it from anywhere in this offense. Metcalf is now out. So they're home favorites. So this looks like a good spot. And in those 2.5 games where he's been the lead back, 7.1 yards per carry he's averaged, and he's scored 5 touchdowns. So the guy has just been a smash. So he's going to be a tough fade. Then there's Saquon. I think he's going to be in play. Josh Jacobs, Kamara, Ramondre, Damian Pierce, on and on. But so what are you thinking, JSU?
Yeah, so at the running back position, you just reminded me too, the Giants are getting 3 points. I mean, there's a winner right there. Just throwing that one out there. But so give me the Giants here. I know it's in Seattle, but still, they're getting 3. Giants have been good. Are we forgetting this? Like they've been really good this year. So yeah, I think that's a winner right off the bat. But to talk about the running back position, just at the chalk ownership spots like you talked about. Tony Pollard, to me, it's kind of a similar situation to how I saw Josh Jacobs last week. I'm just going to play him. But I think some of these other guys that are going to be popular, I might be fading at the running back position, just talking about a few of them. But it looks like Josh Jacobs is going to get ownership again this week. He also has a big price bump. I will now jump off Jacobs after being in on him last week. I'm going to jump off of him this week. I mean, dude had 3 like he was a beast last week, but I'm not going to chase that if he's going to be this type of ownership. Dameon Pierce looks popular. Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker's probably the other best play out of those like 4 or 5 guys. I'm probably not going to play any of those guys. Ramondre Stevenson's another guy who looks like he's getting high ownership. There still is Damian Harris there in that backfield, though. So let's just remember that a little bit. It's not like it's just him. I know it looks like it's trending towards that way, but you never know what Bill Belichick does. So I'm still being a little cautious on that spot. So I'll probably be off Stevenson, Kamara. I'm just not playing him right now. Andy Dalton, like I feel like to me, Kamara gets like 18 again. Like he's fine, but for tournaments, I don't know. Like he's had one big game, 27 against Seattle, and I think Seattle is like the ultimate. Seattle and Houston are like 2 of the ultimate nut spot matchups for running backs. So I'm gonna throw that one out because I would play any running back pretty much against Seattle. So I'm going to be off him. I would much prefer Saquon Barkley, who right now is coming in at lower ownership than all those guys I just mentioned, and I think has one of the 2 best spots to attack right now in Seattle. I think he's just in a really good spot, 8,100. Derrick Henry's in another good spot against Houston. I would probably rank them right now, Saquon, then Henry, but I like those 2 guys. And then Raheem Mostert is clearly the number 1 back in that backfield in one of the probably the highest total game, I think you said. I'm not
51
sure,
and a half. Yep.
Yeah. But he looks like he's the lone guy there now, where Chase Edmonds is completely starting to fade a little bit. So I like him against Detroit. That's kind of how I see the more like the popular running backs and how I'm looking at them right now. As we get into some of the guys who probably be a little lower owned, DeAndre Swift in the same game looks like he's back to full practice on Wednesday. That's big for him if he's fully healthy. We know his upside, and he's a direct pivot off of like all those guys I talked about that I wasn't playing, like Kenneth Walker, Stevenson, Pierce, Kamara, Jacobs. Like he's right in that range and in one of the more popular games that will have lower ownership on. So I really like him. I think the combo of him and Mostert are very interesting for tournaments. A lot of people don't like playing running backs from the same game. I think you can, though, in this spot just because of the upside with someone like Swift and the fact he can do it on the ground and catching the football. So I really like him. And then just going down a little bit more, another guy, Foreman's going to be popular. I'm interested to see how popular it will be. He's not like 4,600 like he was last time or whatever. So it'll kind of depend on ownership for me. I do think it's a good spot to play. I though think they will work in this kid Blackshear, who they talked up a little bit, and he's 4,400. So I think if you needed a cheap running back, I don't see Foreman getting like 70% of the work. Like I just don't see that being the case. So I do think that another running back gets a decent share of the workload. And so I might take a shot on him in like Millie Maker tournaments, but that's how I see running back as of now.
Yeah, Blackshear crushed in preseason, I remember. Yeah, what are you thinking, Bobby?
Yeah, so I'm definitely not fading Pollard this week. That was pretty much my issue with Jacobs going to be so highly owned. But he was such a good play. Like I just feel like I'm not going to make that mistake 2 weeks in a row. I will be fading Jacobs because I didn't play him last week, so there's no reason to chase that at all. In terms of other running backs, like Kenneth Walker, I think makes sense. Ramondre. I might be on the other side of you, JSU. I might play Derrick Henry over Saquon. Probably be one of the two for me. I think I lean Derrick Henry. Mostert, I think he's he's fine, right? But they're throwing the ball so much that maybe he's like chalk you want to stay away from just because of their pass rate over expectation. So the Dolphins, that is. So I just don't. I don't know if I'll probably play him, but be under the field. Deontay Foreman. I don't know. I like Deontay Foreman, even at 5,300. I know the kid Blackshear's there. I don't mind playing little Deontay. In terms of like low-owned pivots, I think Miles Sanders, if you're playing Tua stacks, like Miles Sanders is just like a good guy to have in your tournament pool because he's leveraged off Jalen Hurts stacks. So I like him. Tyler Algiers kind of passed the eye test for me. He's 5,400. I don't mind like versus Carolina taking a shot on Algier. It's pretty much it. It's going to be pretty tight for me at the running back position this week. I may like Blackshear if JSU can talk me into it. Taking a shot on him, I wouldn't have any issue with it.
I just want to point out that Mostert was actually limited in practice yesterday, being Thursday, where this is Friday morning or Friday afternoon. We're recording this. So it may be like a downgrade situation, but we'll have to see what practice they say about it at practice today. So it's interesting that maybe he got hurt in practice or something, but anyway, so we'll see. He looked great in that game against Pitt, and like you have to like game script that game out. There is a path for him to just having a really nice workload and just going off against this Pitt D.
If you're not,
Detroit D.
Yeah, if you're not playing Tua, then Mostert's definitely you want to be over on Mostert. I don't know. We'll get to QB in a minute.
No, I may not play him either, but there's certainly a path there for him to crush. And he's cheap. And you know what? He's always been good. He just never held up. Like,
yeah, you can't stay healthy.
But like he's been fine this year. So I mean, it makes perfect. I've always thought he was really good. Kenneth Walker, I mean, he looks great to me, and they just get thinner in the passing game. I also love Saquon, so I'm with JSU on that one. I'll play the Saquon side. He has a massive 10-point split in wins versus losses. So JSU guaranteed the win with his pick there. So then we gotta bump him up, and for fantasy points. But he's third in red zone touches. He's first in rushing attempts. He's ninth in targets. So he's like everything we want in a back. Just the offense isn't that electric, but he is that offense. How about them shipping away Kadarius Toney to the Chiefs?
I mean, so was he healthy the whole time and they just didn't like him? Like, is that
that's the way I take it, is that there was definitely some like
they just didn't like him, yeah, pretty much.
Or he didn't like it. They just didn't get along, is what I would say.
Yeah. And well, I mean, now he goes to the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs.
If he can't do it now, this is the landing spot for him.
This is a nut landing spot for pretty much any wide receiver. Like, dude,
it'd be the nut landing spot for me. Like, just
head chopper out there catching touchdowns.
Bob, you gonna catch a 50-yarder from Pat Mahomes?
I'll catch a 50-yarder from Pat. Yeah, definitely.
All right. So let's go down to like the thinner side. I know, JSU, you weren't really interested in Kamara.
No.
Bobby?
50-yarder from Pat.
Look at that. Bobby likes Kamara. Is that what it means too?
I like Kamara. I think he's fine versus Vegas. I think that you can kind of look at what Dameon Pierce kind of did to that team. I know the usage with him is just so irritating because Taysom Hill comes in and then they don't utilize him the way they should. But he has been mentioned on the trading block, so could be two sides of this. Could be they don't use him as much because they don't want him to get hurt, but also they could showcase it. You don't really need to showcase Kamara though. I don't know. I don't hate Kamara. I always kind of throw him in there.
I mean,
you think they trade him?
If I was him, I'd hope I'd get traded because They don't
report
utilize
says
him the way they should.
So there was talk about him going to the Eagles, and but I think it was just rumors. And then they came out with a report saying the Eagles aren't interested in trading for him. Yeah, I don't know. All I know is
absolutely insane.
All I know is he's had 9 targets the last 2 weeks, which is nice. He had 19 rushing attempts against Cincy. He hasn't been extremely efficient. He hasn't gotten the end zone. That's the problem with Taysom.
Think about it, though. The man had 9 targets the last 2 weeks. You just said that, Kirkwood, right?
Yeah.
9 freaking targets. He caught 6 and 7 of them. So it's not like he didn't catch majority of the passes either. He scored 17.5 and 18.4 fantasy points.
Yeah, he's not getting touchdowns. Yeah.
Where's the upside?
It's going to come at some point.
If he gets in
this game anymore.
If he gets in the end zone,
it's going to come at some point.
I mean, I love the Swift call too, because he's just like the forgotten guy.
Dude has, I think, more upside than Kamara. Same issue with him where they use multiple running backs or they annoy you like that with the touches sometimes, but has the massive ceiling, and you're getting him at lower ownership. Give me Swift all day in tournaments.
Yeah,
take my shot.
I'm with you, and they're a little bit worse in passing game, and they you got to expect Miami's going to be able to put up points in this one. So Swift in the passing game just makes a lot of sense.
Also another guy keep your eye on, but I think slowly Khalil Herbert is about to take David Montgomery's job at some point this year. I think they're slowly working it in. He started that first drive in the second half against the Pats. He looks really good when he touches the ball. I don't think it happens this week. Might not happen next week, but I do think at some point that becomes more like a 50-50 split instead of a 75-25 split.
I do not accept Montgomery slander.
Dude, Montgomery is not as good.
I still think he looked pretty good to me, carrying like some of those Pats. I mean, they were just loading on the box with him, but like he still carried some through. Yes, Herbert, looked better for sure, but I think they're both good.
I mean, they might be both good, but when one's just better, I think it's just going to force the pressure on the coaching staff to get him more work.
Yeah, I mean, it should be trending that way, but we'll see how what they do. All right, any other? Any interest in like Michael Carter, or like for extremely low owned? Not, or you think James Robinson's going to impact that right off the bat?
I mean, he'll probably impact it a little bit. And don't they have? They still have is it Ty Johnson?
Ty Johnson. Yeah.
I think
got James
worked in a little bit.
Bobby didn't. You missed the trade news, Bobby.
Did I miss the James Robinson to the Jets? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get a screaming kid 24/7.
I know. I'm with you. I tried to cram and I hit these.
Here we go. Back to the misery.
But you should know this because your ETN is like
ETN. I do like ETN.
ETN was the nuts going
got right last week.
And ETN's off the slate, of course. I don't know. Where they are they a London game? What's the?
Yeah, they are right.
Probably they're always the team that's overseas. I feel like
it's Russ against Lawrence. They're the London.
They're trying to force them to the UK.
Who's gonna wake up for that?
Denver against Jacksonville. Snooze fest. ETN probably runs all over them though.
Mr. Unlimited. What a clown!
He's a weird dude, man.
Can't hate that guy anymore. I loved when Marshawn was like, "I ain't messing with him. You have to call his publicist to even get him. If I can't call you direct, no, thank you."
Did you see Justin Tucker was even throwing shots at him?
Yeah, that was great on the plane.
When a kicker starts throwing shots at a quarterback, you need to hang him up, Russ. That's when you know. I mean, I get you're getting a ton of money to play, but it might be time for old Russ to hang up those. It might be time for a few of these quarterbacks.
JSU's been calling all these retirements lately, I think.
Tommy B, Bobby's still at a funeral right now, praying for his guy Tommy B to wake up. Come on, buddy.
It's your guy too, dude. Wait a sec.
Wait a minute.
you're still a Brady guy as a fan, correct?
It's not about being a Brady guy. Yes, is Tom Brady the greatest quarterback who ever played the game? Yes, he probably is. Was he the most talented quarterback? No, I don't think he was. I think he worked his ass off, and I think all of those like intangible stuff. I don't think he was like the most gifted passer of the football. Like I think you got to throw like Peyton Manning in there if we're talking those type of terms, because Peyton Manning was unreal at throwing that football too. But if you're adding in all the intangibles, the winning, everything, yes, he was the greatest. But man, I mean, Michael Jordan to me is the greatest basketball player ever.
Yeah, but he wasn't when he was on the Wizards.
You didn't even see Jordan play, dude.
It killed me watching him on
LeBron's
Washington. What do you mean? Yes, I saw him play. What are you talking about?
How many years did you get to see Jordan play?
Well, I was young, but I definitely saw him play in the
I don't even remember when I was
97,
10. It was like
98.
7, 8 years old.
If I
So you
could
had to
be
like
like
6 or
Mike.
5.
Pretty much the like late 90s run with the Bulls was like
All right,
what
guys.
I saw.
Calm down,
But-
guys.
No, but my point is with the Wizards, I was like, dude, hang it up. You're not the same. Like, just we don't need to see it. Tom's at that point now. You might just need to just let it all go.
I'm with you. I'm
I
with you
don't
on
know.
this. It's over for Tom. It's over. Don't let me play.
I
him.
went to a game and saw him.
Don't let me play him.
Yeah. Tom is he's washed, but I mean, whatever.
This show's gone off the rails. I mean,
Yeah.
we've talked about
All
Tom
right,
Brady
let's
for way too long.
So let's move. Well, I got one last play here. I mean, we got to talk about Dalvin just because it's the concentrated. There's a concentrated chalky game, and they're home favorites. There is a path where he crushes at 7,600, and he's going to be low owned. He's going to be like under 10% owned. He's just outside of that 9-10 player group that we were talking about. Any interest for you guys? Or
I think-
are we just doing
those guys-
JJ and calling it? Are we just doing JJ and calling it a day?
I'm probably yeah. Nothing tilts me more than when Justin Jefferson catches the ball, gets him all the way down there, and then Dalvin gets like the 1 yard touchdown. Drives me insane. Felt like it happened
Dalvin or
3 times
Irv?
last game. Yeah, Irv too. It felt like
Irv
it happened
too.
3 times last game where he like got him down there with a big play, and then one of those guys just got that 1 yard touchdown or something like that. But no, I'm not going to play Dalvin. I'm probably going to stick to Mr. Justin Jefferson, but I get why he's in play for you. He gets a lot of touches. It's a solid offense too, in a solid game environment, probably at home for them. Kirk Cousins always plays better at home. I think like the offense is going to play a little better too against Arizona. And then Arizona got back D-Hop. So, I mean, that definitely helped their offense a little bit more. And maybe if their offense can get going, it'll keep this game kind of back and forth. So if you think that this game is like that, then you should be looking at a Dalvin or Justin Jefferson for sure.
Yep. And Kirk Cousins does do better at home. The one caveat here is that he sucks against the blitz, and Arizona is second in blitz rate. So
Arizona's been pretty good against number 1 receivers too throughout the year, outside of last week.
Yeah, they have been. Outside of last week, he did get some garbage catches at the end. I will say,
that kid's gonna be. Oof,
he's good.
all right, let's move it on over to quarterback. Let's start it off and talk. Well, Tua is the main play here, right? He's going to be the highest owned. He's cheap. Miami, he's got 2 of the best yard after catch receivers. Both looked healthy in the last game with Waddle and Tyreek, and even used Mostert in the passing game a little. And it's in the Dome at Detroit, where Detroit is just abysmal against both the run and the pass. 31st in DVOA versus the pass. Tua's first in average passing yards per game for when in the games that he's played. I thought that was interesting. But also the Lions struggle with the deep ball. Tua's been throwing the deep ball. Could be a really nice game. I'm not too worried about the ownership at 15%. If it gets higher and he gets steamed and we think it's going to be higher in the single entry stuff, yeah, it might be a little bit. But I think I think Tyreek Hill is going to have an amazing game. And so if he has an amazing game, Tua probably does too, is the way I look at it. Sam Ellinger is the cheapie, the 4K cheapie, do whatever you want for the builds. The thing about him is he crushed in the preseason. We've never seen regular season with this guy. It's a good matchup against Washington. They're 29th in DVOA versus the pass. However, they're 19th. They've been improving. They're 19th since week 4. Scott Barrett over at I forgot his site, but on Twitter, fantasypoints.com or something. He put out a bunch of stuff in a tweet that caught my eye about Ellinger and his preseason crushing, basically. So basically, I'm going to pull it up here. He earned 4 quarters of work this preseason. He said 24 of 29 passing, 289 passing yards, 5 total TDs, 6 rushes for 71 yards, 40.7 fantasy points. It's preseason. Does it really matter? No, but at least it shows us that this guy is somewhat capable and also is capable of rushing, because you don't need to do much if you're 4K. So I'll be interested to hear how you guys want to tackle that one. And then Jalen Hurts is kind of the top end guy who gets all of his production in the first half, right? We haven't seen a 4-quarter game with Jalen Hurts yet. We have not seen him just crush. He's crushed, but he hasn't even needed 4 quarters. If we can get him a good game back and forth, that would be nice. I don't know if Pitt is the matchup for it, but maybe. And then Kirk Cousins is going to get some ownership, like you guys were saying, because it's the good spot at home against Arizona. And then I'm interested to see if your guys takes, if you guys outside of that, if we're looking at Kyler, could we play Derek Jones? Is JSU going back to Geno again? These are the things I want to know.
I guess I'll start. So first thing, I feel like with quarterback ownership, I really don't worry about it too much, right? Like I don't think we always talk about it, but what's a quarterback going to be highest 15, 20%, 15, 20% ownership, I think is okay, at that type of spot. So especially if you're doing a 4K quarterback too, that's the other thing. Like there's a big difference in that 4K to 5,500 or 5,200 range because of what it can get you. So I'm not going to throw Ellinger out of my pool just because I haven't built any teams yet. And I don't know what it can get me. Maybe it gets me to Justin Jefferson and Saquon builds. Like I have no idea. So like I'm going to leave him in my pool. Like you read all the stats. He's mobile at least. He's not Matt Ryan. If he was a big stiff, I probably wouldn't go there, but he can move. He has some rushing upside, which is good, I'm pretty sure. So, it's not like I think he's just going to dominate Washington, but at the same time, Washington is not the best defense. Washington plays a lot of man-to-man. They're going to challenge him for sure. So he's going to have opportunity to make big plays down the field. And, obviously you're giving me a chance with my 4K quarterback to get those big plays down the field. The problem's going to be, who is it, right? Like, who is his guy? Is it Michael Pittman? Does he come back? Is it Paris Campbell was last week, the man who caught, had a big game? Is it him again? Alec Pierce has looked good at times. So they got some guys. And I'm definitely going to have shares of the cheap receivers with Ellinger, and then kind of see how I go from there. But other quarterbacks, I like Jared Goff a ton. I mean, everyone's going to play Tua over him in the same game. But, man, look at Jared Goff's home road splits, which was the first thing I was wondering when I heard it was Miami-Detroit, was are they playing at home in Detroit? Because you look at these home road splits, I mean, it's insane, actually. It's wild. He's thrown, first of all, he's averaging 26 points, fantasy points at home against away on the road, 9.4. He has 10 touchdowns and 2 interceptions at home. He has 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions on the road this year. These are big home road splits, and we've seen it before with him too. So this isn't something, new for Jared Goff. He's definitely more comfortable playing at home. I think at 5,500, he's a very good option. And you have clear guys that you can pair him with, in my opinion, in Detroit in one of the bigger games. And he probably comes in at between 3 and 6%, somewhere in that range probably for Jared Goff. So I really like him, and I think you compare him with some of his guys like Amon-Ra, who people won't want to play again after last week when they pulled him, even though he didn't have a concussion, but he was standing weird or whatever it was that got him to pull him in the first place. So that's another story and situation. But I'm going to keep saying this. You can't just pull dudes for, like, if they pass tests, then it should be their choice if they want to come back in. And if they say no, that's fine.
That's coming though, dude. That's coming. That isn't changing.
Choice. That is insane to me that you can pull a guy because he's standing weird or looks off. You check him all out. And if he checks in good, then it should be his choice to if he wants to go back in or not. That's how I look at it.
I'm in 100% agreement with you.
What happens when they do this? What happens when the Bills and the Chiefs square off in the playoffs this year, and Josh Allen gets hit, and he's standing weird? Are they pulling Josh Allen in that big game? Huh? Are they?
I hope they're not. I really hope they're not. Like,
but that's the thing. Like, if you're gonna do it, Bob, you got to do it no matter who
I think
it
it's
is,
coming. That's what I'm saying.
I
think it's coming. I think that this is the way it's headed. Which
it's
I kind of agree with.
It's gonna be flag. It's gonna be flag football soon.
It's
not good for our bottom line if that's the case with all the injuries in NFL and how these concussion situations could go. But I think for the betterment of the guys, like, it might be the right call.
No, I think for the betterment of the guys, if you want to have a spotter pulling people who don't look right, fine, pull them. Get them in there, do whatever you got to do, whatever assessment is needed. And if they're cleared, then they should be cleared to go back in, right? If they're not, then they stay. Or if they say they don't want to play because they still don't feel right or whatever it is. You know what I mean? I just think it needs to be that way as opposed to you just pulling a guy and saying, because we fucked up with Tua one time, like, we're just going to start doing this with everyone. Like, no, you just made a mistake. Don't do it again. Just acknowledge you made a mistake, and you let the guy come back in when he probably shouldn't have. And that's that. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about the egregious, like, the guy, like, gets up and he's wobbling everywhere, like that type of stuff. I'm talking about dudes just getting spotted for looking off.
I always think about, when I think about, like, this concussion debate, I always think about, like, UFC. And, like, that's a sport that people go in willingly and they just get knocked out, like it's.
And they all try to knock each other out or choke each other out or whatever. And they know it's coming. Like, when you fight a guy, all the fighters know, like, when you fight certain guys, they're like, this dude's going to come and try and take my head off. This dude's going to try and snap my arm with an arm bar. This dude's like, they all know it's coming.
All right. So I think we got any flyer picks in here, Bobby? What are we thinking? Who's the Tom Brady this week?
Hopefully we're not on that guy. Yeah, Kirk Cousins. I think you can make a case for 6,100. I think he's in a good spot. Don't mind Jefferson, like Irv a little bit. Just in terms of stacking him. Marcus Mariota. The receiver, like Pitts and what's his name, the wide receiver there, they're grading out all right. So I don't really mind getting to Mariota. I know they don't throw the ball enough, but I think he's interesting as a pivot. I like the Goff call. Like, if you're going to play Goff and then run it back with Mostert and basically fading how much ownership this Tua stack's going to get, I think that's pretty interesting. Stafford is another guy just because of how condensed, like, it is with the Rams. It's Kupp, it's Higbee, and it's Stafford pretty much. They're getting Van back too. I don't know how much they're going to utilize Van, but don't mind Stafford. Tua, I'm definitely going to have playing. Like, this is just there's just a lack of QBs on the slate. So I'll just play the chalk this week. Sam Ehlinger. 4K, it gets tough to stack him, but if you think you play him with Cox and maybe a Pittman, like, it's something that you can consider. He's going to be pretty owned, which is interesting based on never having played a game in the NFL at this point, up until this point, outside of preseason. No Hurts for me. I feel like that's weird because Hurts seems like the QB we'd want to get to, but I feel like Kirky said off the top, like, they don't you never get two halves. You might not need two halves on the slate, but I don't think I'm going to Hurts. Derek Carr.
Sorry, go ahead.
What? No, you go.
What stood out to me with Hurts is he leads the league in rushing attempts in only 6 weeks, and he's ahead of Lamar, who had 8 games. And it's like, and he's massively higher. He's got 6 touchdowns, which is much higher than anybody, even if they have 8 games. And so what I was saying, I mean, we haven't gotten the 4 quarters, but if we do get the 4 quarters, I mean, he could have a monster day.
The problem is no team takes their foot off the gas quicker when they get a lead. Like
this is a really good point. The Eagles just totally shut it down.
And you think Pittsburgh's going to come in and move that ball? And
Kenny Pickett, baby.
Play hurt. I like Kenny Pickett, but my God, the Eagles defense looks friggin' good right now. I mean, this is going to be a tough start for my guy Kenny.
Yeah. And only other one I want to point out is, what do we make of Daniel Jones with 11 rushing attempts for 107 yards and a rushing TD last week?
I mean, I'm still going to play Saquon. It's not changing. Just going to play Saquon and maybe a little Wandale just because he's cheap and I love him. I think he's a stud, but he just needs to stay friggin' on the field.
Yeah, I'm going to look at his snaps for last week. So he went up to 69% of the snaps.
That's what I mean. Like I said that last week. I'm like, this dude is clearly more talented than everyone else they have. Like, he's gonna get more snaps.
Yeah, I like him. All right, let's move on over to wide receiver, who we're pairing. So right off the bat, DJ Moore at 5,300 with Robbie Anderson shipped out of town. He got 10 targets, 7 catches, 69 yards, nice, and he had a touchdown. Did find pay dirt, which is huge for him. He was cheap, so that was great for last week. 5,300. This week, just a small price increase for a guy that's going to get a massive share of a team that's probably not going to pass a ton, but he will have the massive target share. He's in play. Tyreek Hill is going to be the chalk for kind of the expensive guys. Against Detroit. I mean, it's Tyreek in a dome against a really bad secondary. I think they grade out as the worst secondary for Pro Football Focus. Justin Jefferson is the 9,100. So, like, if we're using Ellinger at 4K, I mean, we can just load up. You know what I mean? Like, we can play the Justin Jefferson. We can play Tyreek Hill. Olave is 6K. Look, as Bobby said, just looking like a beast each and every week. He got 14 targets last week, 7 receptions, 106 yards. Granted, a lot of it was in garbage time at the end there, but still, he's a beast. CeeDee Lamb, but we're going to be on Pollard. But I mean he'll get ownership for sure, but certainly a way if you want to fade Pollard, to just hope that he has a big game, or go back to our guy who did not do anything, but we thought it was a good spot, Michael Gallup. Tyler Lockett, Amon-Ra St. Brown. These are some of the names. What are you thinking, Bobby?
Yeah, I like going back to Amon-Ra. I feel like everyone's going to go back to Amon-Ra, but still, I think it's a good play. You hit on Olave, like 6K, I'll pay that price. He's definitely someone I'm interested in. DJ Moore is interesting because of how he's projecting, but I worry about the touchdown equity with PJ Walker there. Tyreek, I'm playing. Even though Tyreek is the chalk wide receiver, and the chalk wide receiver hasn't hit as much as we'd like to see, but I will be playing some Tyreek, definitely. Outside of that, like Jalen Waddle, if we get a full bill of health on him, I think he was questionable. I understand people want to play Jefferson. Like, he's at 9,100. Like, I think I'd just rather go up and get Cooper Kupp if I could. Where's Cooper Kupp? Cooper Kupp got to be – Cooper Kupp's not really showing up for any ownership, huh? I don't mind getting to Kupp, just 500 more.
So there, people are going to say San Fran, right? Well, in week 4, he had 30 fantasy points against San Fran.
Yeah, that's from
19 effing targets.
Yeah,
did not score a touchdown, but the game, he's got some great history with them. He has a 40-point game against them with 2 tutties.
Yeah, I don't mind Cup at all. I think Cup's that low of ownership. Like, come on, you have to be overweight on Cup. I feel like. I like the Wandale call by JSU versus Seattle. I think he's interesting. That's pretty much it for me at the wideout position. I don't know if you guys have any guys you like. If you have anyone you wanted to add.
Thoughts on Garrett Wilson because of like Elijah Moore leaving, and Corey Davis I think is out.
4,200 is a good price.
I think Moore's back. I think.
Is he?
Yeah. So he's back.
The disgruntled Moore he's gonna play.
Yep, he's gonna play. So I've been trying to make Garrett Wilson work though for a few weeks now. He's had some down weeks. So ever since that big week in I think it was week 2. Yeah, I don't know. I might actually play more just for the fact that
I like that.
I do think they want to show him off. Either way, they he wanted the trade or whatever happened, and now Corey Davis is out. At 4,700, if everyone's going to play Wilson, I'll just pay an extra 500 and maybe get to more if I want to go there. Other guys like at the top, you guys were talking about Cooper Kupp. Well, I think like if you're playing the Minnesota-Arizona game, just stacking like Jefferson and Hopkins and hoping the game shoots out, like secondary stack like that, I think is pretty solid. Everyone's going to play Tyreek, which I get, and I think it's a nut spot. But at the same time, Jalen Waddle also gets a really good matchup too. So, I mean, I'm probably going to have exposure to both, but Jalen Waddle is also almost $2K cheaper. So, love Tyreek Hill, but Jalen Waddle has, I don't want to say the same upside. I think he's got close though, because I do think he's really good. I think Tyreek Hill is just way more consistent than him, but could it be Jalen Waddle that pops off? It absolutely could be. So I'm going to have exposure to him for sure at that cheap price tag. Everyone's talking up DJ Moore. I'm going to go right back to my guy, Terrace Marshall at 3,500 in similar matchup. It was encouraging to me too, that he went from not playing pretty much to getting the second highest snap share to DJ Moore. They pretty much played only 3, like they played Laviska Shenault 2 snaps. So the rest of the guys played the majority. DJ Moore played pretty much every snap, I'm pretty sure. Terrence Marshall had 86% of the snaps, and Smith had 50. So it's clear to me they're trying to get him involved, get him some looks. He dropped the big pass. He had 3 targets, but he dropped the big pass early in the game. But I do think he's going to continually get that, and he's going to get no ownership either. So I'm going to play him in some Millie formats for sure. And then he's
3,500. I mean,
yeah, that's what I mean. He doesn't have to do that much. It's a good matchup. The Falcons already ruled out AJ Terrell too. They're one of their starting cornerbacks, so they're going to be thinner on the outside. I just think it's a good spot, and I do think the Falcons, like, it's a spot where Carolina probably trails. So you're probably going to get PJ Walker throwing for 4 quarters, which is good for the receivers. So I'll take some shots with him and the Colts cheapies like Alec Pierce and Paris Campbell, just because I will probably have some Allender. So I'm definitely going to want some Campbell and Pierce. And also with them, big snap count for them. They pretty much played the whole game with Pittman in week 7. And, the snap count's pretty much gone up for Pierce, where Pierce was only earlier in the season, he was only getting 45% of the snaps. And now it's increased the last few weeks. And now he's, on the field a lot more. So that's encouraging to see that they're playing those guys most of the game.
All right. Anyone else, you guys, Flyers, or should we move it on over to tight end?
We can move it on over to tight end.
All right. Well, this week, tight end, we don't really have the big studs. We don't have Mark Andrews. We don't have Tyler Kelsey. All we have is, dare I say, George Kittle. Probably,
we got a box of shit for tight end.
I mean,
Kyle Pitts, get back on the
Kittle finally had a good game against the Chiefs, so it's nice to see him get 9 targets. Yeah, he didn't quite get 100 yards, almost did. Almost had the bonus, had a touchdown. His usages increases is encouraging. At least we know the talent is there for sure. Higbee is going to get some ownership, and it's just because there's really not much more, right? There's Dallas Goedert, there's Pat Freiermuth, there's Kyle Pitts, like you said. There's big Irv Smith is probably the guy. I would probably, if I'm not playing that game, that would be the piece I would put in some other games at tight end, just to try to kind of leverage off of it. I don't know. Yeah, it's a big pile of shit. What are you guys thinking?
You hit the nail on the head. Not the greatest slate for tight end. Most of my tight ends are just going to be with stacks at my quarterback. So I'll definitely have some Gesicki if I'm playing Tua. I don't mind Irv Smith if I'm playing Cousins. I think those guys are in play. Higbee if I'm playing Stafford. Kyle Pitts is going to be chalky. Like if Mariota's going to be low owned, like I don't mind that stack. I know they're not throwing the ball like we'd like to see them throw, but I don't think ceilings on this slate are going to be as important as they would be on other slates. They're obviously going to be very important, but not when you're taking those other quarterbacks off the slate. Like maybe I could get away with some Mariota rushing equity. He's been throwing it deeper downfield, so I might take a shot. I don't usually play Pitt, so I might take a shot. That's pretty much like outside of that. I like the Kittle call too off the top.
Trying to find some cheapies, like maybe an Austin Hooper.
I mean, I think Juwan Johnson's probably not a terrible play if you're looking for
I like Juwan Johnson.
Especially if you're not playing like Olave or Kamara like I am. I'll probably play a little Juwan just because honestly, if you told me my tight end got me 10, I don't care what he was, I would take it on the slate. Like, this is not going to be a slate where you're looking for, like, there's just not as much ceiling on some of these guys, like most of these guys out there. I mean, outside of, like, the few studs we have, like Goddard, they're probably not going to push it because they're playing Pittsburgh and they probably get up early, so you need his damage to be done early. George Kittle, now they got McCaffrey there. They got Debo, Ayuk. There's just so many options.
I think Freiermuth
is a good play.
Yeah, he got peppered with targets when they were in comeback mode against Miami at the end of that game. It looked like they should have used him more throughout the game. Still had 9 targets, 8 receptions. I mean, that looks pretty solid to me in a game where they should be trailing.
Yeah, and I also think if Logan Thomas plays, I'm pretty sure Heineke liked throwing to him before he got injured. They use the tight end a good bit. And if Logan Thomas is in, he's 3K. That's another guy you can kind of keep in your pool. I think for me, though, I'm going to play the cheap, like Pat Freiermuth, Gesicki. In my stacks, Gesicki would be in there. Hawkinson would just make the pool because of that game.
Would you play Hawkinson with Amon-Ra?
I think you could double stack those two on this slate. Yeah.
I get nervous double stacking them. I'd rather just play one of the two.
Because it's realistic that Hawkinson catch two touchdowns and Amon-Ra has just like 10 catches for 130 yards. Like that is actually an outcome that could happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, and tight ends, not a great pool. It's not like I'm sacrificing as much, in my opinion, at tight end. Hawkinson has upside. It's just, it's very rare you see like the 40 burger that he had against Seattle, which was very fluky, by the way. Like he had an 81-yard run. Like how many times does TJ Hawkinson bust out for an 81-yard run? The defender thought he pushed him out of bounds, like after 15.
As
yards.
massive chalk too. He
As
just
massive. It
smashed.
just ended my week. Just completely ended my week. But
I mean, all the signs are pointing Kittle. He ran around.
What about Fant? Any Fant
90?
love? You're taking Metcalf out of there?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, yeah.
Might like some Fant at 2.8.
Also, the Giants, I'm pretty sure they lost Bellinger, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to have open spot.
Who is it?
Trying to see who they got left pretty much.
It's Tanner
Hudson. Yeah.
Or it could be Chris Myrick.
They could both probably play a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked.
All right. Favorite stacks. For me, I'm just going to make it quick and easy. I'm going to probably just eat some Tua chalk this week because I think that game does produce. I'm just going to try to like jam it all in. I think so. I think it's probably better to hear from you guys because I'm going to be a little chalky this week. Who are your favorite single entry stacks? Oh wait, we didn't even do the Bobby Gomes defensive segment. My bad.
No, we could have stacks. JS, you
the host tried to cut your segment, Bobby, after last week.
I know.
After last week when you weren't ready.
A lot of my segments get cut, I guess. Yeah, no. Basically, I basically would say in terms of defense, just like usual, I play my defense versus a good bit of chalk. I think with the Metcalf injury, JSU was talking about Saquon. Like I think you could correlate him with the Giants defense. I know the Giants are going across country, but I still like you're taking a pretty big weapon out of that offense, and Geno's going to have to adjust. And I'd be interested in betting on his adjustment being poor relative to it being good. So I don't mind. I don't mind taking a shot on the G-men.
Yeah,
that's my defense. JSU, where's yours?
Oh, defense? We're talking defense? I thought we were on the stack still. I thought they cut your defensive segment. So I like the Giants. Is that the one that you talked up?
No, I would have got 40 messages from people like, how did you cut the defensive segment? You know?
I used to give good defenses. I used to have good plays.
I'm definitely on the Giants with you. I like the Giants in this game. I like Saquon, correlates perfectly with him. I also wonder too, just from like a tournament standpoint, are those spend up defenses going to be popular? Like, yeah, probably going to be a little popular, like Cowboys and Eagles.
I don't think. People don't like to spend their money on defense.
That's what I thought too. But they're both in really good spots where they could easily put a number up. You know,
when was the last time you seen a 4K defense be optimal?
I shipped with the Patriots last year, and they were 4K and $20 on Yahoo.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was a Lamar stack too.
You're one of the only people that can say you shipped with a 4K defense.
They scored 30 for me. I'm pretty sure it was last year. It was either last year or the year before, and it was a Lamar double stack. I do remember this.
That's actually pretty sick. I don't know if I know a lot of people who shipped the 4K defense. Cowboys could get the sacks, get the takeaways. So if you want to go and play the 4Ks, I think they're definitely.
I think the Giants is one of the better calls though. I like the Giants for sure.
I mean, Dallas and Philly have the mismatches from a defensive line standpoint. The 49ers could be good, like they're 3,100, like against pressuring Matthew Stafford. That could work out in your favor. Like I said before, a defense no one's going to go to because everyone's going to be on this game is the Arizona-Minnesota game. Why not take the second-rated blitz?
I like this call.
Arizona
Kirky. This
against,
is a good call.
Especially if you're fading
against Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, it makes sense if you're fading those guys for sure.
I like that call, Kirk. I think that might be the one. I think we found a
Also,
winner.
one other defense that's been okay, and they're normally cheaper than what they are, but Carolina's 2,800. They're in Atlanta, but their defense has been solid.
Defense
recently.
is great. Their defense is good.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's just another cheap defense that you could throw in the pool to have some shares of.
All right, now it's time for your favorite single entry large field tournament stacks. And if you want to give a Millie Maker stack, go for it, but you don't have to. No pressure. JSU.
Yeah,
or Bobby.
Bobby.
No, let JSU lead off. Let JSU lead off.
God, he always wants me to lead off. So
I need to formulate my thought process.
It's going to be my top single entry stack at 5,500. I think he's the guy I'm definitely going to be overweight on the field. And I mean, I'm definitely going to play Ellender too, just because I think at 4K, you got to have some shares of someone like him who can rush. He can make mistakes and still get there because of game script and his legs coming from behind. So I do think you should have some shares of him as well. But the other guy, I mean, Kirk Cousins is going to be popular. I think in tournaments, like, are we just going to throw out the fact that Kyler Murray is going to have a plus game script if Minnesota's throwing? Everyone likes Kirk Cousins and loves that offense. So if Kyler Murray doesn't do anything, the game's going to be what, 30-7? Like does everyone think that? Or like if everyone sees points in this game, then you should like both sides of it. And Kyler's going to be unowned. So I don't like Kyler, but I do think for tournaments, it makes sense. If you like Cousins' side, you should probably play some Kyler too, because you're going to want both.
Oh my God, you have me playing Kyler this week. He is.
I'm playing Kyler. I'm probably. I forgot that. I'm probably just gonna. I'm still pot committed with this guy.
I don't know if I'm going to honestly play Kyler. Because I don't know.
This is the year.
We should. I mean, he's got
take about the blitz in Kirk Cousins. I'm not as sold on Kirk Cousins. I'm not playing Kirk Cousins. I will play Justin Jefferson, but I'm not playing Kirk Cousins over the Detroit and Miami quarterbacks, Ellinger. I'm not playing him over that. But if you see points in this game, I do think it's viable to think Kyler Murray has some success.
Oh, for sure.
I like that take a lot.
He looked so much better with just having Hopkins back, and now you have Robbie Anderson going through a full week. Has a little bit more weapons, and that's what.
This is like the year of dusty QBs that I've played. Kyler has been one of them. Brady, just go down the list. And I played Burrow every week. It didn't go off. So here we go.
All right. And I'll close out the show. I can't give any UFC picks because I'm not ready, but I will be ready by tomorrow. I will be hammering some bets. So if anybody wants to know what I'm on, just hit me up on Twitter and I'll reply and tell you. If you don't, it's fine. Whatever.
I mean, Kirk's been giving winners. Everyone's.
I mean, I have smacked. I don't.
I think you're the MMA betting goat. I think
so. Just for the people to know, so we come in this show before we even start the show. Kirk's just telling us about even though he broke even or just lost a little in football, he won so much in UFC it just didn't even matter to him. That's how much he crushed UFC last week. So I don't know how people wouldn't want to tell Kirk these on his UFC stuff. I mean, come on, Kirky.
I hit for $15,000 on bets.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's all. 15 grand.
Yeah, but that's sports betting. It's we don't get the ROI like you do.
I was joking.
In DFS.
Yeah, no, I was joking for sure.
But you had the winner. I was tilting it after round 2. I was like, oh goddamn, Baraglio's gassed.
Tilting it. I was out to lunch with my wife.
This idiot is gassed already. I think I wrote.
And one thing about my wife too, she loves Kirkwood. So she loves Kirkwood. I have no idea. Kirkwood.
Okay, I didn't get invited to the wedding, but
she loves Kirkwood, and she always asks how you're doing. And I always tell her the same thing. He's doing great, but he's got a kid, so he's miserable. That's what I tell her.
Well, you know what? I already.
So why did Kirky not get the wedding invite and Big T got one?
It's bullshit. It's politics.
So we're talking about my wedding right now. The wedding that I had like 240 people.
Kirky said he's pissed he didn't get the invite.
Lawyers from my father who I didn't even know that were showing up to the wedding. Like,
and you couldn't throw Kirk a bone there. You know, gee, it's a slap in the face.
Oh, here we go.
I will say that my girl said, "Oh, JSU." Lauren said, "JSU's at the must be at the Patriots game." Because Kel was posting Patriots pictures, I think. Were you guys in the suite, the DK suite?
Yeah, we were in the suite for the Monday's game. Yeah.
Of course you were. Of course, didn't invite me or anything, but of course.
I only had 2 tickets. I had to bring the wife. She'd yell at me. I'd get yelled at. She loves it.
If you had 2 tickets and you had to choose between me and Kirk, who would you choose?
Oh boy, you can't do that.
Don't put me on that. Come on, that's
a lot of hurt. There's a lot of feelings involved here, you know.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, we're trying to wrap this show up, Bob. I mean, you're talking about. I don't want to hurt your feelings or Kirkwood's feelings. We can't be doing.
Oh, so it would have been me that you left out. I see how it goes.
I would take neither of you. That way, I don't have to hurt one of your feelings really bad. I would take neither of you. Both your
looking out for the both of us.
That's right. That's exactly what I would do. So there you go.
All right, there you go. Week 8 in the books. This has been the RG DFS Tournament Takes podcast for JSU, for Bobby Gomes, for me, Kirk Dees. We will catch you next week.